The village woman says, the parks in this city are so beautiful. The con woman suddenly comes from behind and covers her eyes. While she distracts her, her partner quietly steals the money from her small pouch. Then she removes her hands and says, "Oh, sorry, I mistook you for someone else," and walks away. The village woman stops a taxi. He says, "Madam, where do you want to go?" She opens her pouch and says, "Oh no, my money is gone, and the address of my friend was also in this bag. Now where will I go?" He says, "This is a big city. Finding your friend like this will be difficult. I'll take you to the police. Maybe they can help." She says, "But I don't have any money for the fare." He says, "Sorry, I can't take you for free," and drives away. A few minutes later, she says, "Oh God, I'm so hungry." At that very moment, her chicken lays a golden egg. She looks at it and says, "This egg looks strange. Anyway, I'll sell it for some money." The next day, she comes to the market with a basket of eggs and says, "I want to sell these eggs." Another woman looks at them and says, "Of course, and I also want to buy your chicken." She says, "I won't sell my chicken at any cost." The other says, "But I'm ready to pay a high price." She says, "It seems you're not serious." The other says, "All right then, I'll buy the eggs and also give you a job in my house." She agrees and they go to the house. After a while, he says, "We can't afford to pay a maid." She says, "Don't worry, we'll soon be rich once we take her golden egg chicken." The villager brings food. A little food spills on him. He says, "You made me dirty." She says, "Leave it, I'll clean it myself. You go." The next day, she calls out, "Hey maid, did you clean the room?" The villager says, "Yes, I cleaned everything." She says, "Then you must be the one who stole the jewelry." The villager says, "I didn't steal anything." She says, "I'm calling the police." He enters and says, "No need. When I saw her stealing, I already called them." Soon the police officer arrives, someone the villager knows. She runs and hugs him, saying, "I'm so glad you came." He says, "Step back. I don't know you." He says, "Officer, arrest her. She's a thief." The officer says, "Can you prove it?" He says, "Of course," and pulls out a jewelry box from her bag. She says, "I don't know how that got there." The officer says, "Madam, come with me." He arrests her and she says, "We'll keep her chicken as compensation." He grabs the chicken and the officer takes her away. She says to the officer, "You're a bad friend. You pretended not to know me." He says, "I'm on duty. I can't take sides." She says, "I didn't steal the jewelry. You know I never steal." He says, "People change with time." She says, "I can prove my innocence, but first I want my chicken back." He says, "Fine, I'll help you." They go back to the house. Inside, she says, "We blamed her and kicked her out." A moment later, he comes in and says, "You look beautiful today." The villager, who is hiding nearby, steps forward and says, "Really? I look beautiful?" He says, "Very beautiful. I love you." She says, "If that's true, then all right." He hugs her and secretly slips the jewelry box into her bag again. The woman says, "Forget everything. Let's celebrate." Just then the officer enters and says, "Both of you are under arrest." She says, "But the thief is standing beside you." He says, "I heard your confession. Now you'll face justice." He arrests both and sends them to jail. Later he says, "I don't understand why they blamed you. They could have just fired you." She says, "What matters is that the truth came out. Otherwise I'd still be in jail." At that moment, her chicken lays another golden egg. He says, "Now I understand. They wanted to get rich from these eggs. They're very valuable." She says, "I always thought they were useless eggs." He says, "Listen to me. Go back to your village. These eggs can change your life. City people aren't good. They might harm you. I'll arrange your